Instant gratification, fame, money, private jets, abs, glamorous offices, being chauffeured from meeting to meeting, cameras, lights. Well, this is the popularized idea of building a business and becoming a successful entrepreneur. But more than ever before, it seems that people are pursuing this entrepreneurial path because it has this promise to be flashy, sexy, and exciting. The reality is often much different. And if you start a business with this glamorous illusion in mind, you're more than likely to fail. And this is why. My name is Darius Lucas, and I'm here to help you build an online business that gives you freedom, leverages AI tools, and is connected to your ikigai, the reason for being. And now, on with the video. Deliberate practice. So now I often hear from people describe my life just a little bit like I've described the introduction to this video. I mean, not to that extent, but they always say, well, you fly around the world, you do all these exciting things, and we see your videos, and you have the team of people, and always, laugh at that sort of idea that somehow I have this very glamorous business because I know what it took me to build it, and I know that the work that goes into it day to day, and none of it is really very glamorous, and the glamorous part is only like 5%. But what I really know is how it got started. I know how 10 years ago I had thought of starting a language school, and at that time it was just me trading my time for money, just myself commuting client to client across London. Once I had a pool of clients, I relocated to Bali, Indonesia, which was nice and which was actually a beautiful experience, but at the same time I was still working and teaching one-to-one. And over a period of like 5 years, I had taught over 1,000 people, if not like thousands of people, honestly, like one-to-one and then in groups. And at that time, in the eyes of these very same people that now compliment me, they thought that I was being just a part-time English teacher. They thought that was what I was doing, and they sort of like would never say it, but I would think they would sort of even devalue me and so forth. But I never took that seriously because I knew that I hadn't built my social capital and I hadn't built my financial capital either, and I had nothing to show for it. So I was very conscious that I had to put in the work, and that I had to put in the hours, and I had to put in the blood and the sweat, so to speak, because this is how you start. Because you don't start with thousands and thousands of followers. You don't start with millions and millions of likes. You don't start with 10K a month business or 100K a month business or $500,000 a month business. You start very little, like in my case, literally charging 15, 20 pounds an hour for a class. And in that process, I didn't care about what I looked like to the outside world and how they saw me, because I knew these words: deliberate practice. It's a concept brought to light by this very important study by Erickson and his peers. And this is the very study that is often quoted and highlighted in popular book by Malcolm Gladwell, which is called Outliers. And in that book, Malcolm and also Erickson had talked about that mastery isn't an overnight phenomenon, but actually it's the result of long-term focused effort. And Erickson's research revealed that top performers, whether in music, sports, or any field, achieved their exceptional skills not just through innate talent, but through consistent and deliberate practice. And this kind of practice is very rarely glamorous. It often involves repetitive, focused, and very tedious work where you have to push beyond comfort zones and persistently think how you are growing. And none of that is about the outside validation. So I guess what's important to remember when we are all chasing sexy is when we scroll through Instagram and see that perfect influencer with perfect physique, or somebody running 25 companies and having a successful family and looking all pretty, that probably it has taken them years to get to that point, and it probably has taken them deliberate practice that involved hours and hours of tedious work. But another important aspect here is also how do we motivate ourselves in the process, because we have to have the right method to motivate ourselves to really reach success. And it's not about chasing sexy. Intrinsic versus external. I remember when I had graduated from theater directing in London like a decade ago, and I was doing my first professional show. I had a budget. The show was done between a couple of countries. I remember being so cocky and arrogant and thinking that, I'm becoming this basically somebody. Because in my mind, I had this idea that, if I was to become a theater director or film director later on, I wanted to be somebody who was glamorous and, sexy. And when I say sexy, I mean multiple different ways, not like physically sexy, but also, I refer to the glamour and the money and the fame and all the rest. So I was really not treating others well and sort of putting up this whole facade of success. Now, what happened was obviously that whenever you act like this, things don't go well, and the show sort of was a failure. And it was a massive lesson for me that when I was chasing this sort of ideal, this illusion of what I thought I had to be, I wanted to be, that reality usually goes against it, and it shatters your entire illusion as to what you believe yourself to be, because that was all sort of rooted in fallacy. And this is what I realized at the time, that my motivation was very external. So what happens is that in the pursuit of success, whether in business, art, or personal growth, the source of motivation plays a pivotal role. And there was this research by psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, and they differentiated between intrinsic motivation, which is driven by internal drives and passions, and extrinsic motivation, which is fueled by external rewards and recognition. So what happens is, when we are intrinsically motivated, we engage in tasks with a sense of enthusiasm and personal commitment. And this internal drive really leads us to greater satisfaction, creativity, and resilience in the face of challenges. And we can keep on doing it because we are so driven from within. But in contrast, extrinsic motivation, though powerful, it often leads us to a reliance on external validation and very, very fleeting rewards. So, and that is money and fame and sort of achievement and compliments. And it can result in a really fragile sense of accomplishment that's dependent on external factors rather than deep, fulfilling sense of achievement that comes if you follow intrinsic motivation. So what's important is that often it's the love of the work itself and not this allure of fame and reward that sustains us in building something substantial, in building a career, in building a business, in building something meaningful. And this is exactly what happened to me. This is why I ditched theater directing, because I realized that my motivation was very extrinsic, that it wasn't based on what mattered to me. And now today when I'm building my businesses, I know that I'm building them out of the joy and the love for the work itself, because I'm enjoying every single day waking up and working on my business. And I remember, back at drama school, seeing these actors, including myself, who would be there to only get famous, to only become rich and successful. But to be honest, now when I look back and I follow some of these people, the ones that got truly successful and are actually famous in the world right now are the ones who I remember had the love for the craft, the love for the art. And whether that art is your business or your family or your personal growth, if you're really doing it for the work itself, you are going to be unbeatable, because all of those other people doing it for the wrong reasons, they are never going to keep up with you and your pace. Now, but in building your intrinsic motivation, what is very important is to answer one single question. And let's move on to that question. And by the way, if you're loving the video, click like and subscribe, because it's very important and this channel is still very small. Let's move on. Tell me why. Well, I'll tell you the truth. So last night I stayed up until midnight and my partner was like, don't you think you should stop working? And the thing is, I was super excited about what I was doing and I was planning these videos for today's filming, and I had just done the entire days of work. I was still very excited about creating, about building, about growing the business, whose premise is to help people build their freedom, to help people grow their freedom through their business, through online products. And it really excites me. I just love creating things. I just love building things. And to be honest, just the work itself is giving me so much joy. But also the fact that I know that through this business, I build my own freedom financially, emotionally. I help my team build their freedom, as well as, most importantly, help my clients build their freedom and hopefully find meaning and fulfillment in their businesses and whatever they do, and manage to reconcile the two, the commerce and sort of the meaning. And that's what gets me going, and that's my why. This is why having a why will make or break your business, your career, your life, because as soon as you know your why, everything changes. When it comes to your why, I love to think of Simon Sinek, who's an entrepreneur, writer, and thinker, and he helps organizations and individuals find meaning and purpose. And this is what he said. He said, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. If you talk about what you believe, you will attract those who believe what you believe. So in essence, if you have a bigger purpose or bigger why, you'll radiate it. You'll attract clients and people to your business because your why will be undercurrent in your business. It will be fueling everything that you do. It will be radiating joy. So I do believe that there is no better way to live your life than to run and build a business, because it can give you freedom and it can give you the lifestyle that is considered glamorous. But that is not the point. If you're actually doing it for the pure joy, for the pure work and creativity, it's gonna be a massive game changer in your life. And in the video that's coming up now, I want to share with you something that happened to me when I bought into another illusion that society gives us. And this time it was about passive income and retiring early. I did that and something bad happened. So if you want to find out what happens if you buy into too many illusions that society gives us, click on this video that is somewhere here, because there's more tea to spill.